Atomic Habits is definitely one of my favorite books that I've ever read. And in it, it basically describes how little things that we do on a daily basis, those micro things that we do, form habits. Habits that live with us for a very long time. Habits that actually make big decisions in our life. Seems like one-time decision, but it is a culmination of a little bit of habit. In this video, I'm going to describe 7 habits that keep you poor. Hi, my name is Adrian and this is my channel, Always Talk Money. I like to talk money as it relates to everyday life. Let's get into the video. I've made a video about budgeting before, and so naturally I want to start with this. The first habit that keeps people poor is just not budgeting. And it seems like simple advice, but you'd be surprised how many people don't plan out a budget on a monthly, yearly, or even weekly basis. My grandma always said to me, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. How can you know if you're going overboard or even if you're going on track without a budget? A budget is extremely necessary for financial independence. In personal finance, and you want to be financially independent, you have to start with a budget. It is essential. The US government uses a budget. Many corporations and big Fortune 500 companies, they use a budget. And not to say the budget is going to always keep you on track, but it can show you those places where you are falling off track. Because a lot of times we don't necessarily need to know if we're doing well or not to keep within the budget, but the budget can help you to see where your blind spots are, where you are paying too much for something, where you're paying too little for something, where you're not saving enough, where you're not investing enough. That's what the budget is for. The second money habit that's keeping you poor is spending. And it's not necessarily that we can't add or subtract. I've always said that personal finance is more about the person than the finance. But because of this consumer society that we live in, people spend and spend without even knowing what they're really spending on. People buy a lot of junk on a monthly basis. People spend on credit cards and spend money that they don't even have. You spend money before you even have it. You get a raise, your boss says, oh, I'm giving you a 50% raise, a 10% raise, a 20% raise. What's the first thing you do? You upgrade your lifestyle. You start spending. You go on an expensive vacation that you necessarily can't afford. This keeps you poor. And it's not to say all spending is bad. Of course, you have to spend to enjoy life in a certain extent. If you have a business, you have to spend money in your business and invest in that business to make more money. I understand that. But just spending all willy-nilly is never a good thing. Just consuming just to consume is never a good thing. Spending is a problem in American society with the car loan debt, the student loan debt, and even the personal loan and credit card debt. Spending is a problem. You have to spend in a very wise way, in a way that helps you to move forward in your personal finance journey. If you're liking this video so far, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, the next money habit that's absolutely keeping you poor is ignoring debt. A lot of people ignore their debt. Not only do they overspend and accumulate debt, but we tend to ignore it as well, as seen by the amount of debts that's in collections right now and the amount of debts in terms of car repossessions, mortgages going in default, and so on and so forth. That means that you ignore your debt. And why? Because people get nervous. People get uptight when they know they don't have the money, they're over budget, they're spending too much, and the debt is coming in, and you see those letters coming in from bill collectors, and what do? You throw them in the garbage, you rip them up, you try to close your eyes, but guess what? It's not going away. You absolutely cannot ignore the debt, because number one, it's going to ruin your credit, and that's going to prevent you from moving forward in your personal finance journey. It might prevent you from getting a good interest rate on a mortgage, a good interest rate on a personal loan or a business loan if you're trying to level up and build your finances in an entrepreneurial venture. It is absolutely paramount that you do not ignore your debt. Yes, you got yourself in debt. Yes, you got in some bit of trouble, but ignoring it is not going to make it go away. You absolutely have to take accountability and attack debt. And I see a lot of that happening in the last few years with the student loan debt crisis. A lot of people have buried their heads in the sand and claimed that the government, who wants your vote and will tell you anything to make that happen, that they're going to forgive your student loans. But at the end of the day, politicians are going to politic. Whether it's on the right or the left, it doesn't matter. They just want votes. And so I hope it happens for the majority of people. I really do. I don't have a dog in the fight, and I'm not going to hate on people getting their loans forgiven. But at the same time, you have 2 to 3 years of moratoriums, interest-free moratoriums, and you have not taken advantage of paying off your debt. Now, this fourth money habit is more of a mindset thing, right? And this money habit keeps a lot of people poor, even more so than the tactical stuff like budgeting, spending, and debt. And that's your mindset. Let me tell you something. How you view money is how money is going to come to you. If you think of money in a limiting sense, money is going to be limited in your life. I know it sounds corny, I know it sounds cliche, but absolutely every single time that I've had a positive outlook on money and if it's going to come to me, I've always seen more money in return. You have to have an abundance mindset when it comes to money. Why? When you have an abundance mindset when it comes to money, you will start to form habits that will allow money to flow to you. You will take jobs, you will take good calculated risks to make more money. You will start your business or go back to school to do this thing that you really believe in, because in your mind, there's nowhere you can fail. In your mind, the money is going to come. So having limiting beliefs about money, what that will do is you won't try anything. You will believe that anything you try to do to achieve more money is going to be a waste of time. And when you have that mindset, money is not going to flow to you, because those habits will stop you from endeavoring to do more, endeavoring to educate yourself more, endeavoring to take a risk on yourself or a business or with your spouse or with your friend or anybody else. And that is a limiting belief that will actually have you never trying to reach your full potential financially. And then you see a lot of people at the end of life, they're 30, 40, 50, 60, and all they've had is just stories of false starts or what ifs. And you know what those people have? All of them have regrets because they never believed in themselves. They never had the mindset to pursue money in a positive way, and they are sad about it. So if that is you, I promise you, you need to have a mindset that is positive about money, that money will flow to you, that you can go out and do anything and achieve anything financially and absolutely crush it in the financial world. The fifth money habit that's keeping you poor is lack of investing. Yes, we all know that investing might be complicated to some, but it's really not. When people think about saving and investing, they tend to stick towards saving because it's much easier to understand. But investing is very important. Why? Because you cannot work every single hour of the day in order to make millions, in order to achieve financial independence. Not unless you're an athlete or a high-paid entertainer in a different field that gets paid millions for every single piece of work that they do. If you are not that person, you have to save and invest. I talk to a lot of people who are like, investing is too complicated, I'm going to lose money, the market is down, it's not the right time. That is a very bad habit. Me, I plan to be a millionaire in the next 3 to 5 years, but I'm not going to earn $1 million just off of physical work by myself. A lot of it is going to come from investing. Why? Because I've learned investing, I've taught myself investing, and I know what I'm doing in that domain. And you should know what you're doing in that domain. You should be knowing about compound interest and what ETFs, stocks, or bonds to invest in. If you want to do crypto, then you should learn about that stuff, right? Investing is an incredibly powerful skill, an incredibly piece of knowledge that everyone needs to have. And that keeps a lot of people poor because they just make money, they spend money, they might save a little bit, but you look up 20 years later and you might have 50, 60 grand in the bank. But is that going to be enough? Absolutely not. All it takes is one medical emergency to wipe out all that money. Now, if you want to know what ETFs I invest in, these are winning ETFs that have made me a lot of money over the year. I buy and I hold these ETFs. Check the link down in the description down below, or go to alwaystalkmoney.com/store. That's where you can find that. But if you don't have the habit of investing, I promise you that's going to keep you poor. That's a money habit you do not want to ignore. Have that habit, invest, and watch your money grow. The sixth money habit that keeps you poor is lack of insurance. And I know a lot of YouTubers, especially in the finance space, don't really talk about insurance, but insurance is very important. Why? Because it protects you from having to spend your own money when things go bad. If your house needs repairs, if you need medical bills covered, you need insurance to cover all those things that you don't want to have to cover yourself. Let's say, God forbid, you pass on. How's your family going to take care of themselves? You don't want your family to be poor and destitute, especially if you are the breadwinner. You don't want your family to be out on the street. That's a money habit that you cannot ignore. I always say, once you get to a certain level, you need to insure everything. I know sometimes people be like, okay, nothing's gonna happen. Or sometimes insurance companies will try to fight you to get that payout, but you cannot let that stop you. It's better to have it than not to have it. When you don't have insurance and having to foot the bill for every single thing that might go wrong, yes, you can have an emergency fund and that's fine, right? But having everything insured, make sure you have at least all of your deductibles when you're talking about medical. If your deductible is $2,000 or $3,000, make sure you always have $2,000 or $3,000 in reserves at all times, so that if you have a medical emergency and it's 30, 40 grand and they're like, you got to pay your deductible, whoop, super simple. You pay that 2 or 3 grand and they take care of that 30 grand bill. And that's going to save you from paying a lot of money out of pocket in terms of liquidating your assets or going into your big emergency fund. You see why that's going to keep you poor if you don't have insurance. People always say to me, it's incredibly expensive to be poor. And that's true, because when you're poor, it just seems like everything just bad happens to you. You don't have insurance, you don't have the money to cover the bills, and you just go further and further in debt. Now, the seventh and final money habit that will absolutely keep you poor is not adequately planning for retirement. Yes, you can budget. Yes, you can save and invest, but you have to adequately plan for retirement. You have to know how much money you're going to need in retirement when you're no longer working anymore, when you're no longer bringing in any income, because it's a two-part. You have to track your ingoing and your outgoing. And especially when you're retired, your income tends to be fixed. And so you have to plan that stuff out way, way ahead of time. 10, 15 years in advance at least. You need to be knowing exactly what your numbers need to look like. You need to know if you're going to sell one of the houses. You need to know if you're going to be working part-time. You need to know if you're going to be drawing down dividend payments from your nest egg. You need to know what your social security is going to be like. If you're going into retirement without a solid plan, that is going to keep you poor. You see a lot of senior citizens are working in jobs that they don't want to be working in. Don't let that be you. And why is that? Because they didn't plan adequately for retirement. They didn't use their youth and their guile and their agility to plan for the point in life when they wouldn't have that youthful energy anymore. And that is a mistake. You absolutely have to plan for retirement or remain poor and not retire with dignity. And I don't want to see any of that for anyone who watches my videos. Now, with that being said, guys, this is the end of the video. Check the links down in the description below if you want to check out my calendar, book a consultation call with me. If you want to buy my ETF investing booklet, that's also down in the description below. Follow me on Twitter as well if you want to chop it up every single day. I also produce a blog on my website, alwaystoutmoney.com. Go to blog. 2 blogs come out every single week. They're a little bit different style of reading and personal finance stuff. Also, the newsletter comes out every single Friday. So go to alwaystoutmoney.com, sign up for the free newsletter. It's a ton of value that I'm providing every single week. And then as well, 2 YouTube videos coming out every week, Monday and Thursday. So subscribe and turn on your bell notifications. Like the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And until then, I will see you guys. Peace.